discussion. Can you please tell our viewers who you are and where you are from?
Thank you very much, Mr. Isteketo. I'm very happy to be here in Western Province, specifically Mongu. We are just right, in the Barose floodplain, and it's a pleasure. Eric Kemwenda is my name, Executive Director, Farmers Association of Zambia. And of course, I'm the Global World Agricultural Forum Zambia chapter as a council member. And apart from that, for my coming here, I'm under a company called Farmer Millionaire Enterprises. And of course, we are here to see how best we can share information about farming and just improve the way we look at Western Province and how we can transform Western Province. As Eric Kemwenda, I'm very passionate about Western Province, and I'm so excited to be here because this particular field here is manned by a young lady, and I think it's very important for us to encourage many more young ladies to come on in front and start planting and harvesting greatness, because this is what Bulozi is meant for.
Yeah, now, Mr. Mwenda, what is your educational background and perhaps a bit of your family history?
Very interesting. I hold a master's agriculture, agribusiness management. I also have a Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness Management, and I've got also a certified crop protection consultant program from the University of Guelph in Canada, and of course other qualifications, business management, sales and marketing management, and many others in between. I've also got a qualification in hydroponics farming. This is a farming where you are doing farming without soil, what we call soilless agriculture. And apart from that, I'm also a public relations management expert and all those things in between. For now, I'm just a farmer. I also grow some crops at my farm in Lusaka there. So basically, I think we are here to share knowledge. We are leaving all our papers behind and say, how can we improve Bulozi? And I'm so excited. I'm with a veterinary, is it veterinary or veteran?
Veteran.
Okay, veteran. He has taught me it's veteran, not veterinary. Veteran broadcaster, Mr. Isteketo Mutumba. He has been around. I think the first workshop that we did was in the year 2014 in August, right here in Mongu. But of course, we're doing it somewhere in town. So today, we are right in the field where we have tomato. And of course, people call me Mr. Tomato. And I'm so excited to be in this tomato field.
Thank you, and very interesting, Mr. Mwenda. Can you now take us through your farming career?
Thank you very much. First of all, after leaving college, I had an opportunity to be employed by a multinational company called United Phosphorus, and I think today it's called UPL. That's where I spent 10 years looking after crop protection products. And I think sometimes I'm proud to say I was one of the pioneers to introduce agrochemicals on the Zambian market for the smallholder farmers. Because I think at the time we didn't have many companies on the market, and I think I was very much instrumental in establishing what is called an agro dealer today. That was way back in 1997. And I think after spending 10 years, I also was promoted to look after the SADC region market, where I was now very much responsible to introduce agrochemicals in Zimbabwe, in Namibia, in Botswana, Malawi, and of course part of East Africa, Tanzania and Kenya, and all those countries in between. And of course DRC on the other side. Thereafter, after leaving United Phosphorus, I was taken by a company called CropSave, and I think United Phosphorus bought CropSave at the time, and I was promoted as a manager for small-scale farmers, primarily responsible to improve the smallholder farming business in Zambia. And of course, it was the same time that we introduced herbicides in this country. That was way back in 2007. And I think it was very interesting to note that at the time, when you're talking about a weed killer, everyone said, no, this one destroys the soil. but it was really a hard job that today almost every farmer everywhere is still using weed killers, which we are calling herbicides. And of course, it was a way of trying to reduce the amount of labor that farmers spend in weeding, compared to the use of some of these particular products. There are instructions to use those particular products. And of course, it was very interesting to note that farmers from Copper Belt, farmers from Eastern, farmers from Southern were the first farmers that started using these particular products. Thereafter, I was taken on by a company called MRI Seed. With MRI Seed, it was primarily looking after the business of maize, and of course they had a section of agrochemicals. Again, I found myself in the agrochemical business where I was employed as a technical manager in charge of training the managers that were employed at the time to ensure that they are able to fully understand the use and management of agrochemicals, of course attaching them to maize of different varieties. Of course, by that time we had different hybrid varieties that were there on the market. Thereafter, Syngenta came on board, a global company called Syngenta, and bought off MRI Seed. So during the time that MRI Seed came on board and Syngenta now was coming in, they realized that we needed realignment of certain positions, because now it was a global company, a new company altogether. They came in with their crop protection products. These are chemicals that we are able to use to control some diseases and pests and in different types of crops. So during that particular period, I was the one that was in charge of training, of course, smallholder farmers. But of course, I think just a few years of joining Syngenta, I was given a position to be the country manager for vegetable business. And I think that was the time that the vegetable business was born in me, because I think I had too much passion for vegetable. So I was the first person to actually introduce vegetable business in the country. We introduced varieties like Newton tomato. I think they are the one that made him to be called Mr. Tomato today. So it was very interesting that we pushed the agenda to introduce different varieties of tomato on the Zambian market under the Syngenta umbrella. And I spent 2 years there. After that, of course, combined, there were about 7 to 8 years that I spent at MRI and Syngenta. Then thereafter, I was taken on by Amiran Zambia, to be the commercial manager in charge of vegetable business as well. And of course, that's when I heard the words the Israel tomato. So we talked about the Israel tomato. I think here we are standing in a variety which most people say Israel tomato. These are varieties that grow very tall, taller than the tallest Lozi man in this country, in Baroseland. So briefly, after the Amiran journey, I was posted Southern Province, and of course looking after other parts of the country. It was very interesting that I spent 4 years at Amiran. Thereafter, I joined another company from Mauritius. It was called MCFI, and then there I was in charge of both small-scale farmers as well as commercial farmers. That was the time that I had one-to-one interaction with commercial farmers from Kushi and other places in Southern Province. During the time, we were selling agrochemicals and of course foliar fertilizers of different kinds. And of course, it was also an opportunity to start seeing what commercial farmers are doing and trying to learn what they're really doing there. Then after that, the MRI and Amiran story. Then after Amiran, MCFI, Mauritian company. Then thereafter, I joined a company called Sidco. So with Sidco, I was country manager for vegetable business. And it was very interesting because at the time when I was joining Sidco, we were actually told to say, you know what, we are here, can you take the company there in terms of vegetable business? With the 4 to 5 years that I was at Sidco company, we managed to introduce some of the varieties of tomato. I think it was very interesting to see some also good varieties of cabbage, where we saw a cabbage called Majesty cabbage, which we introduced on the market, which is able to mature within 70 days. And of course, it was also very interesting to take it out there. With Sidco, we had very good marketing strategy, and we took the varieties to different parts of the country. I was also in charge of Democratic Republic of Congo. I was in charge of Angola, and of course Zambia as a country, and of course the other countries like Botswana and these other countries in between, Zimbabwe. So those are some of the countries that I was able to work in the time I was at Sidco Zambia. Then thereafter, I spent 27 years of experience in the agriculture industry in Zambia and of course Sub-Saharan Africa. So today I'm speaking under the umbrella of Farmer Millionaire Enterprises Limited, as the CEO of the company. And of course, it's an interesting journey because we are coming from somewhere where we have been seeing a lot of challenges happening amongst the smallholder farmers in Zambia and across Africa. And today I'm privileged to be here. So in summary, that's who Eric K. Mwenda is.
Thank you very much. Interesting. So, today's topic is tomato production from start to the market. Now, can you please take us, you being the tomato guru, can you please take us through these steps from scratch to the market?
The first word I'm going to say is be a farmer, be a millionaire. As you can see, my shirt here is written be a farmer, be a millionaire. Yesterday we were in Sesheke and we're talking about how farmers can take advantage of their prevailing environment. We've got very good soils. Right now I'm stepping on very, very nice soils. Sometimes you may not even need to water every day because the soils are able to keep the moisture. And apart from that, you can see my plants here are flourishing. Not because of top-notch management, but just basic management by a lady who is able to spend time, and they are not even using irrigation systems or so complicated or whatever it is. Just using simple buckets to water, and the plants are looking like this. Here in Western Province, the prices of tomatoes are always on top of the roof. You have to climb on top of the roof to just see, oh, the price is just, today is like this. So, as of 2-3 days ago, one box of tomato was going at 500 kwacha, 600 kwacha. This is about 20-22 kgs, just one box. Now, for me to start the topic of tomato, it's very difficult for me to just start it from nowhere without mentioning the potential that is available in this country. The potential that is available in this land of Barossa, where I was born from. I was born from Senanga, a few kilometers away from here. So, what I'm trying to say is that, can we all stand up and begin growing tomato? Where am I going to start from? I'm called Mr. Tomato, and it's very interesting to note that when we're talking about tomato, almost everyone else is raising up their what is called eyebrows because they really want to know and hear what Mr. Tomato is going to say. The first thing that you need to understand when you're getting into tomato growing is your mindset. The first topic that I like saying is that I'll call the topic called the business psychology of growing tomato. The business psychology of growing tomato. You must understand the business psychology of growing tomato because tomato crop generally is a political crop. When I talk about politics, just understand that. It's a political crop in the sense that almost everyone seems to get along with it, but almost everyone is against the crop because they always say, I grow tomato today at 500 kwacha, the next day is at 20 kwacha a box. Why should I keep on growing tomato? But I can tell you to say, every home, everywhere, right now, even all the women that are working in the garden right now, even the woman that is standing behind, smiling, they have been cutting a tomato so that they put it in their soup. But the interesting part about that is that, we must know to say when a tomato is cut in a kitchen, it means there is market for it. So there's no way somebody can say, I'm not growing tomato because there's no market for it. Because every day, every minute, a woman is cutting the tomato. As long as they are cutting tomato, it means there's business for it. But you must understand the business psychology. What is the business psychology? The business psychology is that tomato must be grown all the way around. When you go to paper, when you go to university, you are studying, you are doing things like that, there's what is called climatic recommendations. What is the right climate for tomato to grow? They will tell you a warm season, tomato is a warm season crop. They will tell you tomato is not going to thrive in the cold weather. But the fact of the matter is that here in Barossa, whether you are talking of the winter season, whether you are talking about summer season, tomato can grow. Fortunately, we even have certain varieties that are able to tolerate certain conditions of tomato, such that even if it is grown during the winter period, when it's very, very cold, we use climate smart farming. There are strategies that we are able to manage the cold weather so that we are able to have a crop at the end of the day. So this particular psychology is very important, because if you just go in to say I'm planting tomato without fully understanding this particular business techniques about growing tomato, you may go in blindly. Like you say, today the tomato is at 500 kwacha, and the next day you just rush and just buy some seed from somewhere, you know, and the next thing you are planting, and the next thing you are on the market. By the time I get into the market, the price is at 20 kwacha. Then you just say, money company is really tomato and that. If I knew, I don't think I would have planted tomato because it's bad. So at the end of the day, we see many people crashing into tomato, and at the end of the day, they don't get anything out of it, and they just leave it because they don't understand this business cycle. So the first thing is that be prepared in the mind to understand that tomato prices fluctuate at different times. And then secondly, you must also understand that there are different types of varieties that are suitable at different times. The winter crop has got different varieties. The summer crop has different varieties. We also have situations where during rain season, that's when we have, you know, diseases coming in, because tomato doesn't like water getting to the leaves, and in the process you find it getting a lot of diseases, and of course there's the spread of different types of insects, and in the process you realize that the one who grows tomato during rain season will spend more money, and the one who grows tomato during the winter period, they'll spend money but not as much as the one who is growing in the rain season, because during the rain season you'll be required to be spraying several times, weekly sprays, 3 to 4 days sprays, depending on the type of products that you are using. And apart from that, it's also very important to understand that when you are growing tomato, understand the economics, understand the calculation, the maths about it. You should know to say, when I'm getting this tomato, how much am I going to spend on chemicals? How much am I going to spend on the labor? There are certain places, like for example, where we come from in Shemabala there, to find workers to come to your farm, it's very, very expensive. They'll tell you, just for a small field like this one, they'll tell you, for this particular field, and unless you pay me 3,000, I'm not going to work. Sometimes they'll come and just work briefly. The next day, after you pay them, because their men almost just to get some money, they just go drinking, and the rest is history. What is there is that we have serious challenges in terms of labor. So labor management must be put in place as you get into tomato. Otherwise, if you just get into it just like that, without understanding the labor requirement, with understanding the cost requirement of how much it's going to cost you, and understanding the environment where you are, is it very hot? Is it very cold? Without understanding these things, in what we say, kuyapindingwa, kukutapindingwa. What does that mean? It means going round circles. In Mumbai, they will say, it's chipante farming, where you just wake up and just start farming, and the next day you see yourself going round the bush. But what we are trying to say is that have the full understanding of what a tomato crop is, because at the end of the day, if you have grown it very well, and I'm sure with this particular crop that you are seeing here, I'm seeing a lot of fruits coming in, the owner of the farm must be smiling somewhere. I'm sure a few miles away where the owner is smiling, because very soon they'll start seeing some money getting into their pocket after hard work. So it's very, very important to also understand that particular knowledge of knowing all the things that I've just mentioned briefly are key. And of course, you should also understand yourself as the person who is investing in the tomato growing. Do you have the passion for it? Do you have the commitment for it? Do you have the discipline for it? Because sometimes, in terms of discipline, you harvest your tomato, instead of coming in to start spraying, the next thing you do is go and buy something very expensive, and forget that tomato requires the fertilizer, it requires the chemical and all these combinations. So at the end of the day, you may get so excited and use all the money for other things, and then the crop may not have what it requires at that particular time. So the discipline must be there to ensure that you are doing everything within the confines of the business of growing tomato. And then the other thing, which is also very, 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 very key, is to have record. If you have this particular crop, every time you are harvesting some crop from there, try to have some record to say, from one plant, how many fruits did I harvest from the time I started? You can pick, maybe 5 or 6 plants. From there you have an average. Then you know to say, from one plant, I was able to harvest 115 fruits from the time I started harvesting up the time that the crop cycle has ended. So in terms of understanding now the journey from the business psychology, is where now you start coming to say, where am I going to grow this tomato? Do I have the right land? Right land. Land may be there, but is it right? So for you to make it right, for you to qualify it as the land where you're growing tomato, understand the nutrient status of your soil. Then the way that comes there is soil testing. You need to test your soil. Of course, there are stages where you are now, from just a small scale farmer, you now understand the technologies about how you grow it. But it's very important now you understand the issue of soil testing, because when you when you test your soil, you'll be able to understand what are the nutrients that are required or that are there in the soil, in terms of nitrogen, in terms of phosphorus, in terms of potassium, in terms of zinc, boron, and all manganese, and all these elements in between. It's also very, very key to fully understand, to say, what are these major nutrients that my plants? Mostly the major nutrients are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and of course the pH of the soil. The pH of the soil is where you are measuring the acidity of the soil. How much acid do I have? I was being told that some of the water available, for example, in Sesheke, is acidic. So meaning that some of the soils that side are very acidic, so meaning that they need to be treated. And apart from that, some soils are not necessarily just acidic, but they are alkaline soils. So you need how to manage the alkaline soils. How do you manage the alkaline soils? Basically, for some of you that do not understand these terminologies, we're actually saying from 1 up to 14, this is a standard scale where you are able to measure the pH of the soil. From 1 up to 4 or 5, your soil is acidic. Between 6 and 7, 6 is slightly acidic, then 7 is neutral. From 7 now you go to 8. From 8 then you are saying the soils are alkaline soils. So there are certain areas where soils are alkalines, and when you have the alkaline soils, it means certain nutrients may not be available to your tomato crop. And that's why at certain times you realize that when the farmer starts harvesting the tomatoes, here they will harvest two fruits, there they only harvest 1 fruit. There are even no flowers.
Yes, now Mr. Mwenda, I know with you we can even talk the whole week. But now, from our discussion, I've come to learn that agriculture, farming also need mentorship. Is that correct?
Very much correct. So, with our current company, we are doing what is called masterclass. I think you've seen, to my right here, it's written masterclass. So the masterclass, we realize that there are so many problems, mindset problems, with our farmers. Right here in Mongu, you have got several farmers who are not able to get into farming because what John said, tomato, there's no business in tomato. Why are you even going into it? There's nothing that you can do about it. The other one was told by the uncle, are you sure you can really make money from tomato growing? I have not seen anyone making money from tomato growing, because the only things I hear are the stories where things have not done very well. So, during the masterclass programs, we coach and mentor farmers that get into serious vegetable production or any other production for that matter. We do what we are calling agricultural masterclass, and in October, 1st of October, we'll be in Mongu, where we're going to do an agricultural conference. Again, we're going to mentor and coach certain farmers so they're able to fully understand the steps on how they can manage. So during the masterclass trainings, it's usually we take 2 days, sometimes we take 1 day, but now we're taking 2 days, where we are doing a classroom session where we are able to give some people the basic business environment about growing vegetables, of course the agronomy basics, how do you manage your crop and things like that, how do you manage your farm workers, how do you manage your records, how do you manage markets, access to markets, and all those things. So we actually put them in that class and we give them those tips, and then eventually we also want to see serious markets being created here. We don't want to always say there is no market, there's no market. We can create our own markets right here. I, Cornerman, our president will always say.
Dear viewers, this can only be on your #1 TV station, Bulozi TV. And for today's topic, I think time is not our best ally. And Mr. Mwenda, we end here. And thank you very much for being to Western Province. And please have a nice journey. I've been your host, Mutumba Steketu. Thank you very much.
Be a farmer, be a millionaire. Thank you.